today we're having sloppy Joel. Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Nikki, and today's video I'm sharing with you guys 7 new bowl recipes. If you've been following me for a little bit now, you may know how much I enjoy bowls and just how much they've actually helped me to stay on track with my weight loss and maintenance journey. I've been eating different variations of rice bowls for years now, and it's really helped me to pack in a lot of 0-point foods that have a lot of protein and fiber, just to make filling meals that are also pretty low in Weight Watchers points, and like I said, high in protein, high in fiber. Today I'm sharing 7 new recipes with you guys. I'll have them typed out in the description below, but when it comes to making these bowls, you really can get creative and just kind of use what I'm sharing with you guys as some inspiration and some ideas to maybe even make your own versions at home. Whenever I make these bowls, I like to use a base of jasmine rice. I usually use 3/4 cup of cooked jasmine rice, which is 5 points on Weight Watchers. I've always just preferred jasmine rice for the flavor versus brown rice, white rice, any other options, but again, you can use what you would like as your base. You can do brown rice, you could do cauliflower rice, you could even do pasta or potatoes or any other thing that you would enjoy as a base with all these ingredients on top of it. But for me, I just like to use jasmine rice, and that's what I'll be using for pretty much all of these. Sometimes I use couscous and sometimes I'll use brown rice if that's what I have on hand, but today and most of the days I use jasmine rice. If you enjoyed this video or find it helpful, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. And let's get started with the first bowl that I'm making today, which is going to be a chicken Parmesan rice bowl. So I usually have some jasmine rice prepped in the fridge, and I'll just take it out and use my food scale to weigh out the portion that I use. It's usually about 135 grams for 5 points, or like I said, 3/4 cup cooked rice. Then today for this chicken Parmesan bowl, I've got some chicken breast here that I thawed, and I'm going to be making my own panko crusted bites. It'll be really quick and easy though. I'm just going to use these kitchen scissors and cut this chicken up. Then I've got a bowl with an egg that I'm going to scramble up, and I'll just toss the chicken in that, and then some of these panko breadcrumbs, which I will add some seasoning to. So once I get the chicken coated, I'm going to pop it in the air fryer and get it cooking so that I can assemble the rest of the bowl. And I really like green beans with chicken Parmesan, so that's gonna be my main vegetable for this. I actually prefer canned French style green beans. That's what I grew up on, and so I always just prefer it when it comes to meals like this. So you could use fresh green beans if you want, but I've just got this bowl of them here. I'm probably just gonna add a little bit of onion, salt, and some garlic to these and then heat them up. Then with chicken Parmesan, you need some red sauce. I've got a can of tomato sauce here and a can of fire roasted diced tomatoes. I just put those both into a pot on the stove. To that, I'm gonna add some seasonings and just cook it up until it's heated. I'll also add some fresh garlic paste, but for the seasonings, I think I was just gonna add a little bit of this roasted garlic and herb, and then probably some onion salt as well. While that's cooking, I'll just quickly season it with those things. For the panko breadcrumbs, I'm going to use this Kinder's garlic Parmesan and then a little bit of garlic salt. And then I've got some light mozzarella cheese that I'll put on the bowl. It's 2 points for the serving of a 1/4 cup, so I'll probably do a full serving of this. I do want some Parmesan as well, so I've got some fresh Parmesan from the farmer's market. I'm just gonna shred a little bit on top of it, probably like 2 points worth. And that'll be everything for my bowl. I'm also going to go grab some fresh basil from the garden to add to the sauce. Pretty easy to just toss this together, and I'll just have to flip the chicken in the air fryer once it's halfway done. But I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling it. Starting off right away, I've got a bowl with the panko breadcrumbs and seasoning that I just mixed together, and then 1 egg was enough for this chicken today. It's a little more work to cut up the chicken into pieces, but that's where my kitchen scissors help a ton to make it go much quicker, and when I actually assemble the bowls, I just like them to be smaller chunks of chicken instead of one big chicken breast. The air fryer I use is a combination of a toaster oven and air fryer, so I like to use some foil when I'm cooking chicken like this because it does get kind of messy. That's also why I like to use food gloves when I make these, because I get some egg and stuff on my hand. It's easier to just use my hands to do it. Then in the pot where I've got the tomato sauce and diced tomatoes, I usually just keep it at a medium-low heat until it starts to simmer, and I'm just mixing in the different seasonings. I let the chicken cook in the air fryer for about 10 minutes, and then I flipped it over and did another 8 or 10 minutes until it was fully cooked through and nice and crispy. I heated the green beans up in the microwave, but you could also cook them on the stove, and then I'm just adding the serving of Parmesan and mozzarella cheese to top it off. Okay, here is my finished chicken Parmesan bowl. I've got the base of jasmine rice, which is 5 points on Weight Watchers. The green beans are 0, the chicken breast is 0, but I did track a point for the panko breadcrumbs. And then the tomato sauce with tomatoes is 0. The mozzarella cheese is the Trader Joe's light mozzarella, so that's 2 points. And then I just did 1 point of shredded Parmesan on top. So I'm gonna mix this all together. It's 9 points total for the entire thing. And you can see it's a nice big portion. Really quick too, I wanna mention the bowls that I use. I always get asked. These are from Target, and usually they're like $4 to $7. They've got some white ones, and then they've got a couple that are different colors. They are so nice for being able to just display my food. It makes me seem like I have so much more, and it honestly helps me to pack it with more 0-point foods because I can fit them, and it just encourages me to make nice, pretty bowls like this. So that is my chicken Parmesan bowl. Okay, moving on to the next bowl recipe that I'm making. Today we're having Sloppy Joe inspired rice bowls. So I'm going to do my normal 5-point jasmine rice base, although I feel like this bowl would be really, really good with some air fried or roasted potatoes as the base. But today we're just going to do the rice. So I've actually got my rice cooker going right now because we didn't have any prepped, so we needed more anyway in the fridge. Once that's done, I'll be able to assemble this bowl. But first I need to make the Sloppy Joe meat. And today I'm going to be using 93% lean ground beef. This is a nice higher protein option, and it's 0 points on Weight Watchers. It's got 23 grams of protein and 4 ounces of it. I'm going to cook this up, and then to that I'm gonna add some ingredients. So I have this brown coconut sugar. I'll do 2 teaspoons, which is the serving for 2 points on Weight Watchers. I went ahead and just built this as a recipe, so when I make all this, it'll be 2 points for 1/3 of all of the meat. I'm going to do a little bit more than a serving of meat just so it's a little bit more filling and to help us get more protein. But anyway, I'm going to use this organic ketchup from Trader Joe's, and I'll be using 1/3 cup of this ketchup. I also have some of this Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce that I'm just gonna do like maybe 2 tablespoons, which is 0 points on Weight Watchers. I'm gonna add a little bit of this sriracha mustard, probably like a teaspoon or 2 just for some extra flavor. And then some of this Worcestershire sauce, as well as some minced garlic. That'll be all the ingredients that will go into the Sloppy Joe meat mixture. Then I'm going to saute up an onion and a bell pepper. That'll just be some veggies on the side as another topping. I've also got fresh jalapenos from the garden, so I'm going to chop one of these up and we'll have that for a little extra spice and flavor as well. And then one thing, since I was a kid, every time we had Sloppy Joes, we would always have potato chips with them. These are reduced fat potato chips, and the serving for about 19 chips is 3 points on Weight Watchers. We're just gonna do a 1-point serving, which is about 8 chips, and just kind of crumble those up, and that'll be the nice crunchy topping on this bowl, and it's only 1 point for the serving. That'll add some nice crunchy saltiness, and like I said, I just love potato chips with Sloppy Joe. And everything together, the serving of meat, the potato chips, and the rice, it'll just be 8 points for this entire bowl on Weight Watchers. I'm gonna go ahead and get the meat started as well as the pepper and onion, and then this will be pretty quick to assemble. I almost forgot, I'm also going to add some pickles onto it. I started out by chopping up the vegetables that I needed for this bowl, so that included a bell pepper and an onion, and I just had a yellow bell pepper on hand. You could use whatever color you would like. Same with the onion. Honestly, red onion would work well with this, but I just happen to have a yellow onion today. So in one pan, I start cooking up the pepper and onion, and then in the other, I've got the ground beef that I'm cooking. And once the ground beef is fully cooked, I can start adding in the other ingredients, which includes the minced garlic, barbecue sauce, ketchup, which I was struggling to get enough of. My bottle was pretty much empty. I also add in the Worcestershire sauce, the mustard, and a little bit of the brown sugar that I'm using. And then I also added a little bit of onion salt, and I just mixed that and cooked it for a few more minutes, simmering until it was nice and combined. Then I just diced up some pickles, and then I was ready to assemble the bowl with the meat, peppers, pickles, and then I weighed out the serving of potato chips, and I just kind of crushed them into smaller pieces with my hands. I also topped it with the jalapenos, which added the perfect amount of heat that just wasn't too much, but added some nice flavor. Okay, here is my finished Sloppy Joe bowl. I've got a base of jasmine rice for 5 points, some sauteed pepper and onion for 0. I chopped up some pickles for 0 points, and then this is 1/3 of the Sloppy Joe mix that I made, so this is a 2-point serving. I've also got 1 point of these reduced fat potato chips. So that is everything on my bowl. This comes out to 8 points total. The jalapenos are also 0, but 8 points total, and I'm gonna mix it all together and enjoy. The next bowl that I'm making is a Nashville hot chicken inspired bowl. I'm going to be starting with some of this Just Bare chicken. These are their lightly breaded chicken breast bites. For the serving of 3 ounces, it's 4 points on WeightWatchers, so I'm just gonna put that amount in the air fryer and start that heating up. Like every bowl, I'm going to have a base of jasmine rice. I just already went ahead and weighed this out for my serving. So this is 5 points. It's about 3/4 cup cooked rice. Then every time we get hot chicken, we love to have some type of slaw with it. So I've got this coleslaw mix that's just carrots and cabbage. And to it, I'm just gonna add some seasonings and some Chobani non-fat plain Greek yogurt. This is 0 points and we'll add just a little bit more protein. And then the hot sauce I'm using for this today is this Kinder's Creamy Louisiana hot sauce. So I'm gonna put a splash in here. Actually, I could just do that right now. But I'm just putting that in there to add a little extra flavor with it, the Greek yogurt, and then that'll make this a slaw. Then, of course, we need some pickles with it as well, so I'm gonna chop up some of these kosher dill pickle chips. These are 0 points on WeightWatchers. And then I actually already started this, but we had some fresh corn on the cob from the farmer's market. It's sweet corn, and I just cut it off of the actual cobs and started cooking it in this pan. So I sprayed it with some nonstick olive oil spray, and then I added some salt, pepper, and a little bit of seasoning, and I'm just letting this cook up for another ingredient to add to the bowl that'll make it more filling, and it's 0 points on WeightWatchers. Then when the chicken comes out of the air fryer, I have this Meyer brand Nashville hot seasoning mix. So I'm just gonna toss the chicken in it a little bit to give it a little extra flavor. This will definitely be kind of spicy, so I'll probably do just a small drizzle of this extra hot sauce on top of mine. And I was thinking about maybe adding a little drizzle of ranch, but we'll see how I'm feeling once I assemble this. It'll definitely help that the Greek yogurt will be in the coleslaw mix. That's going to be my Nashville hot chicken bowl, and I'm gonna go ahead and get it started. For this next bowl, I already had the chicken cooking in the air fryer, so I got started with the slaw first so the flavors could kind of set. And I just mix it all together till it's combined with the Greek yogurt and seasonings. The chicken was still hot, so the seasoning really stuck well when I just tossed it in a bowl like this, and it really did remind me of when we get hot chicken out from restaurants. And the corn really didn't take long to cook. I just had it heating up on the stove for a little bit. I added a bunch of pickles to this, so I didn't even bother chopping them up, but then I also added a drizzle of the hot sauce and ranch, which the sauce ended up being way spicier than I expected, but it really did add great flavor. And then the ranch and the coleslaw really helped to cool it down just a little bit. Okay, here is my finished Nashville hot chicken bowl. I've got the serving of chicken for 4 points, the base of rice for 5, the corn, pickles, and slaw are all 0 points on WeightWatchers, as well as the hot sauce that I drizzled on top. Technically, I used about 1 point of Bolthouse Ranch, but that's one of those things I just don't track. So in total, this bowl would be 10 points if you count the dressing. I'm tracking it as 9, just the rice and the chicken. That wraps up my Nashville hot bowl. The next bowl I'm making is a chicken Alfredo style bowl. I'm actually gonna do chicken and shrimp though to make it a little more filling and add some protein because I also really like shrimp with Alfredo sauce. I figured why not include both of those proteins with this bowl today. It's actually gonna be pretty low point because the only things I need to track are the jasmine rice, which I'm going to use a 5 point base of cooked jasmine rice. That's about 3/4 cup. For my proteins today, for the chicken, I'm using this grilled chicken breast from Sam's Club. It's 0 points on WeightWatchers, and it comes with 6 pieces. Usually I end up doing a little bit more than the 3-ounce serving size, but that'll just help me, like I said, to get a little more protein in, and it's 0 points. I'm also going to cook up some shrimp, so another 0 point option on WeightWatchers that helps to add some protein. For 1/4 of this bag, it's got 13 grams of protein in it, but I'm just gonna cook this up on the stove in some like garlic seasoning, and then that'll be done really quickly, as well as the chicken I just heat up in the microwave with the rice. For some veggies on this, I wanted some mushrooms as well as some broccoli. So I'm actually just gonna roast this in the oven. I feel like that's just the easiest. A lot of the times I'll just cook it up on the stove, but I'm gonna put it on a tray and spray it with some nonstick olive oil and add some seasonings onto both of them. I think I'm just gonna keep them separate so that I can have the different ingredients on the bowls. I like to just do that way, but I'm going to cook this entire thing of mushrooms and broccoli and just roast it in the oven. Another popular ingredient with Alfredo is sun-dried tomatoes. These are actually 0 points on WeightWatchers. They're just plain sun-dried tomatoes. I think I'll just chop some of them up and add those to the bowl for some extra flavor. And then for the Alfredo sauce today, I've got this brand Classico, and this is actually their light creamy Alfredo sauce. And for the serving of a 1/4 cup, it's 2 points on WeightWatchers. It's got 30 calories, 1.5 grams of fat, 3 carbs, and a gram of protein in that serving as well. It's just a basic creamy Alfredo sauce. I may even season it with a little extra seasoning if it needs it. I'm gonna try it. I haven't had this one before, but I'll probably end up using the 1/4 cup serving for 2 points on WeightWatchers, and that'll make this bowl 7 points total. I'm not gonna lie, the amount of smells in our house after I made this bowl were pretty ridiculous with the shrimp and broccoli, but the bowl was so delicious once it was done. I started by just roasting up the broccoli and the mushrooms together on a tray with foil. I sprayed them with some nonstick spray and added some of my favorite garlic and onion seasonings. I got large shrimp that I made sure to thaw earlier that day, and then I just had to take the tails off and put it in a pan like this with some seasoning and let it cook until it got nice and pink. And I never want to overdo it because then it gets kind of chewy, but I definitely prefer getting the raw shrimp over pre-cooked. I find that the texture and consistency is just much better. And honestly, I love these grilled chicken breasts because they have some nice charring on them, and I feel like it just went so well with this Alfredo bowl with the sauce and vegetables. I always picture chicken Parmesan with breaded chicken and then chicken Alfredo with grilled chicken, so this was a perfect combination. And once the broccoli and mushrooms were done, I was able to just add those to the bowl. I heated up the bowl beforehand with the chicken and the rice. And everything finished at the same time. The shrimp was done when the vegetables were done, so everything was nice and hot, and then I was able to add the sun-dried tomatoes to the middle. Then I drizzled the Alfredo sauce on, which this was the first time I had tried this brand. It was pretty good, but didn't have a lot of flavor, so it did work well that this bowl in general had different flavors all mixed together. But I'm curious to hear what you guys like to use for Alfredo sauce if you have a favorite. Okay, so my Alfredo bowl is all finished. I've got the base of jasmine rice for 5 points. The grilled chicken and shrimp are both 0. Mushrooms and broccoli are 0. The sun-dried tomatoes are also 0 because they are just plain sun-dried tomatoes. They're not in oil or anything. So 0 points for those, and then 2 points for the Alfredo sauce. 7 points total. And this bowl is also packed with a lot of protein because of the shrimp and the chicken. So this will be nice and filling. It's got fiber with the veggies as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and eat. Okay, moving on to the next bowl that I'm going to be making. This one, I really wanted to do a bowl that had apple in it. I kind of wanted to do like a fall harvest style bowl. I'm going to be using some chicken apple sausage. These are a little higher point than I wanted them to be. They're 4 points for one, but it'll still work out with the bowl. I'm going to do my normal 5-point base of jasmine rice, although with the sweet potatoes I'm adding, I could probably do less rice and it'll be just as filling, but I'm gonna do my normal 5-point base. Then in the oven, I'm going to roast up some sweet potatoes. I'm just gonna chop this up and add some seasoning to it, probably some onion, salt, garlic powder, stuff like that. I'm also gonna chop these Brussels sprouts in half and roast them in the oven as well. And then once both of those things are done, they'll be my main toppings for the bowl. I'll have the base of jasmine rice, the Brussels sprouts, which I'm also gonna season with some different seasonings. I'm just gonna cook these up. This can either be cooked in the microwave or on the stove, so I might just put it in a pan on the stove. And then I'll chop up this apple as well to give it a nice sweet crunch. I also decided I'm going to add some feta cheese to this, so I might just do a 1-point serving, which is 13 grams. I'm gonna see if that's enough. If not, I'm gonna bump it up to a 2-point serving, but I'm gonna weigh it out on my food scale and see. And then I wanted some type of dressing. Honestly, really wanted a honey mustard, but we don't have any. The Bolt House honey mustard dressing would be perfect for this, but instead I'm just going to use this Olive Garden Italian light dressing. I'll probably just do like a tablespoon just so it's a drizzle to give it some extra flavor and a little bit of juiciness to it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this started. I need to get the sweet potato and Brussels sprouts roasting in the oven because that's gonna take the longest. But the nice thing is that it's gonna be a lot prepped and I'll be able to just remake this bowl again like tomorrow or later in the week because I'll have all the ingredients ready and I still have some chicken sausages. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Whenever I roast sweet potatoes, I prefer to just leave the skin on, but you can definitely peel them if you prefer them that way. And they don't have to be perfect, but I just dice them up into cubes like this so that they roast a little bit quicker. I make sure to spread them out on the tray. Once I'm done chopping them up, I spray them with some nonstick olive oil spray, and then I add the toppings like some garlic salt and onion powder. And then I just put on a food glove so that I can use my hands to mix it together and make sure that the potatoes get nice and coated with the pepper as well and the other seasonings that I added. Then I did pretty much the same thing with the Brussels sprouts, so I cut them in half if they were smaller. If they were bigger, I just quartered them, and then I put them on the tray where I sprayed them with olive oil spray and topped them with this buttery steakhouse seasoning. And to these, I also added a little garlic salt, onion powder, salt, and pepper. Those are pretty much my go-to seasonings, and they work well with a lot of different things. This is a Cosmic Crisp apple, and again, I didn't peel it, but if you prefer to have your apples peeled, you can do that for this bowl. But you could also use a different type of apple if you prefer a different flavor or variety. This one has a nice sweetness and crunch, so that's why I decided to use it today. Then the vegetables finished roasting at the same time, so I was able to put the base of rice down. I also had just cooked up the sausage on the stove. It didn't take too long, just a few minutes each side. I just chopped that up into smaller pieces and I added to the bowl with the apple, the Brussels sprouts, the potato, and then I just used my food scale to weigh out the serving of feta cheese that I used. I then drizzled it with the Italian dressing that I showed before. It's just the Olive Garden light dressing, and it really did work well with this bowl, but there are a few other options I think would be great, like honey mustard or the Panera Fuji apple dressing. Okay, here is my completed bowl. This comes out to 10 points total on WeightWatchers. So I've got the base of jasmine rice for 5 points. The sweet potato, Brussels sprouts, and apple are all 0. And I forgot to mention this is a Cosmic Crisp apple, but you could use whatever type you prefer. The chicken sausage is 4 points, and then I did 1 point of feta cheese. I just weighed it out on my food scale. I also drizzled a little bit of the light Italian dressing, but that's one of those things I never really track. So it's 5 points for the rice, 4 for the sausage, and 1 for the cheese, making this bowl 10 points total on WeightWatchers. Okay, sorry if you can hear my oven going in the background. I already went ahead and started roasting up the zucchini for the next bowl that I'm gonna be making. So this bowl is a Philly cheesesteak inspired bowl. I'm getting so hungry just thinking about it. I've been most excited for this one. It is gonna be, I think, 11 points total, so a little bit on the higher end, but worth it, especially for a dinner. I usually try to have my dinners anywhere from 8 to 12 points on average, I would say. For dinner, I've got this shaved beef steak I just got from Trader Joe's. I'm just gonna cook this all up tonight and we'll probably just have some leftovers. I have a pan heating up and I'm just gonna quickly cook this with just a little bit of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And technically this isn't 0 points on WeightWatchers, so it will be a 4-point serving that I use on the bowl, and the base of jasmine rice will be 5. Trevor actually just made us some more rice for the week, so we've got a fresh batch of it prepped. I'll just scoop out 3/4 cup cooked, and that'll be 5 points. Then I really wanted to have some veggies with this, including some pepper, mushroom, and onion mix. I've got a green bell pepper I'm gonna chop up. I've got an onion, and then I've got some mushrooms, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cook those on a pan in the stove. Like I said, I already started up the roasted zucchini, so I just cut it into little like fry shapes, and I'm gonna roast it for a little bit. And then once that's done, the veggie mix should be done, the meat will be done. And then I'm also going to add some light mozzarella cheese, which I think I might just do a half serving for 1 point on WeightWatchers. And then I also wanted to add some of these crispy onions. So these specifically are garlic pepper flavor. They're so delicious, and I feel like they'll add a perfect amount of crunch and some flavor to the bowl. I'm not adding any type of sauce to this, but I feel like everything mixed together will be perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started cooking up the veggies. The first thing that I did to get this bowl prepared was start roasting the zucchini in the oven, and I just felt like cutting it into fry shapes for this today. Anytime I make zucchini, I usually just cook it on the stove, so roasting it this time really reminded me how much I actually enjoy it this way. I feel like it just has even better flavor. And while I was eating this bowl, the zucchini was actually one of my favorite parts. So I just top it with some nonstick olive oil spray and seasonings and pop it in the oven at 400 to roast. While the zucchini's in the oven cooking, I get the rest of the vegetables ready to cook on the stove. So I dice up some green bell pepper, a yellow onion, and then sometimes I chop up mushrooms before I add them to a veggie mix like this, but today I just threw them in whole and I just mixed it all together. I add some different seasonings to the veggies and I let them continue to cook at a medium-low heat for a few minutes while I start cooking up the meat. And when it comes to making shaved steak like this, you definitely have to cook it quickly so that it doesn't get overdone. So I made sure to keep an eye on it while I was cooking the vegetables and flip it once it started to brown. The meat is always the last thing that I start though, because it is so quick to cook it and I just like to keep it hot. So once it was done, everything else was complete and I was able to start assembling the bowl. I wasn't really feeling anything spicy today, but this is definitely a bowl that you could add some hot peppers or giardiniera to that would be really good. I've also heard Cheese Whiz is a classic topping for a Philly cheesesteak, but I've never had that before. I just used mozzarella and then I topped it with the crispy fried onions, and that was it. Okay, here's my finished Philly cheesesteak inspired bowl. I used mozzarella cheese. I originally wanted to do provolone, but we just have the slices for that, and I feel like with the shredded mozzarella, it's just easier. I did a 5-point base of jasmine rice, 1 point of the mozzarella cheese. My mushrooms, onion, and green pepper are 0 points, and same with the zucchini that I roasted. Then I've got the shaved steak for 4 points and a point of French fried crispy onions. So this bowl comes out to 11 points total on WeightWatchers. Okay, the last bowl that I'm making is going to be a stuffed pepper inspired bowl. Usually stuffed peppers have meat and rice in them and tomato sauce and cheese. We're just gonna do kind of a deconstructed, although I am gonna cook all the veggies together, but you'll see what I mean when I get there. I'm going to do a normal base of jasmine rice, which is 5 points. I do 3/4 cup cooked, so I'll just put that in a bowl and heat it up in the microwave. I've got 2 pans on the stove, so in one of them, I'm gonna cook up this pound of ground chicken, which is 0 points on WeightWatchers. Once it's pretty much cooked, then I'm going to add this can of tomato sauce, which is from Trader Joe's, and it's 0 points on WeightWatchers. I'll also add some seasonings to that, and I'll just let that simmer for a little bit. And then in the pan next to it, I'm going to cook up some vegetables. I've got a zucchini I'll chop up, 2 green bell peppers, and then an onion. And I'm just gonna cook that for a little bit. Then after a while, I will add in these strained diced tomatoes. And I'll also add some seasoning to that, as well as some minced garlic. And I'm just gonna let that cook to soften up. I like when the green bell pepper actually gets pretty soft, just like a stuffed pepper. So once those are both done, I'll just add them on top of the rice. And then I'm going to use 2 points, which is a serving of this light mozzarella cheese from Trader Joe's. I also have these leftover croutons I had made that are with some whole wheat sourdough bread. So I thought this would add some nice crunch and savoriness because they are garlic Parmesan. So I'll probably just do 1 point of those in the middle, and that'll be my stuffed pepper bowl. But it'll be really quick to throw together. I just have to cook up the chicken and veggies. So I'm gonna get chopping those up now. To be honest, out of all 7 bowls in this video, I wasn't expecting this one to be my favorite, but it actually turned out to be the one that I wanted again right away. It was so good and flavorful. I started by dicing up the vegetables for it, which included an onion, zucchini, and 2 green bell peppers. And as I chop the veggies, I just add them to a pan that's heating up on the stove. I usually just cook it at a medium heat. While the vegetables are cooking, I do start cooking the pound of ground chicken. So I've just got that in a separate pan, and I just keep an eye on it and flip it once it is browning. I recently got some new pans, and I'm still getting used to using them, making sure that I don't use any metal utensils on them or anything. I'm really trying to keep them in good condition, but with this, I just continue to mix it up until it's fully cooked. Then to the cooked ground chicken, I add some seasonings. So today I'm adding this crushed red pepper, oregano, and garlic Parmesan seasoning to it. I just mix that together to combine it with a little bit of salt and pepper as well. And then I add the tomato sauce, which is just a can from Trader Joe's. It's 0 points on WeightWatchers. I also add some garlic salt and garlic Parmesan seasoning to the vegetable mixture while it's cooking. And then also from Trader Joe's, I have a can of diced tomatoes that I just strained the liquid out of, and I just mix those into the vegetables. I cover the vegetables and let those cook for 5 to 7 minutes, and then everything is ready to assemble the bowl. I've got my base of rice, and then I add a good amount of the meat with the red sauce. I wanted to use a lot of vegetables, so I used a big serving of those, as well as a few croutons, and then some shredded mozzarella cheese on top. Okay, here is my finished stuffed pepper bowl. I used ground chicken this time, although I was actually planning to do ground turkey. That's what I usually use when I make stuffed peppers, but the ground chicken will be just as good. It's still 0 points and adds some protein to the bowl. I've got the base of jasmine rice for 5 points. This veggie mix, which has zucchini, pepper, onion, and diced tomatoes. That's 0 points. The croutons, the serving I just tracked 1 point of whole wheat sourdough bread. And then I've got 2 points of light mozzarella cheese in the middle, which you could also do provolone. I feel like I usually do provolone slices when I make these as like actual peppers, but the mozzarella will be just as good and it'll get nice and melty when I mix it up. That wraps up the last bowl for this video. That one comes out to a total of 8 points on WeightWatchers. And when you watch these videos, I hope it just gives some inspiration, because with these bowls, you really can mix it up and adjust it to the ingredients that you like. If you like all these vegetables but you don't like zucchini, just keep the zucchini out and you can make the same thing and it'll be just as good. Or if you just have different cheese options or different proteins you like to use, or even the base of jasmine rice, you could use cauliflower rice, you could use potatoes, you could use whatever you want to for the base, but you can really get creative with these bowls and use whatever lower point ingredients you prefer to use. Even a lot of people like to incorporate cottage cheese with their meals. You could have made a lower point cottage cheese Alfredo sauce if you didn't want to use the Alfredo sauce I used, and you really can get creative with it with the ingredients. So don't be afraid to play around and try some different things, but I hope this gives some inspiration on how I like to incorporate a lot of 0 point foods, proteins, veggies, all of those things to make nice filling meals that are really nice portions too. That wraps up my 7 days of bowls. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.